Big sports guy. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. What's going on, everybody? My name's Dawson, and this is Beyond the Playbook. Welcome back, everybody. This is episode 3 of Beyond the Playbook. We have a very, very special guest today, Kneeland Hibbett, the long snapper from the University of Alabama, current draft prospect. Kneeland, how are you doing, man?
I'm good, man. It's good to be on the show finally. Thanks for having me.
Excited to have you on. This is, like I said, a big goal of mine, and let's go ahead and get right into it. So you're from Florence, Alabama. Give us the background of you growing up there and growing up playing football.
Yeah, man, I love Florence. It's a great community, a lot of good people, a lot of support that came from there. But, in Florence, Alabama, it's music, sports, and Alabama or Auburn. So it's kind of just a really good community that fosters a really good sense of, togetherness, but also support for one another. So I've always enjoyed it up there. Beautiful lake, great restaurants, and, I've always enjoyed Florence.
Did you grow up playing football? Like, what positions did you end up playing? And kind of tell us how you got into long snapping.
And so, I was just like every other kid in Florence. You play baseball, basketball, football, like all the sports, trying to figure out what you really like doing. And I was playing football my 7th grade year, and I was center because at that point I figured, I'm probably not going to be able to play a skill position. But I was down on the line, and our team needed to do punt. So our coach just was like, "All right, Neil, you'll be the long snapper since you're the center." And snapped to the punter and kind of did some more research on it, how to snap, and realized that, this would be a really good opportunity for me to be able to possibly capitalize on it, get good at snapping and go to college for it. So I grew up a huge Alabama fan, and, thanks to, very fortunate luck and God being very good, the spot lined up perfectly for when I graduated high school, the Alabama spot being wide open. So, a lot of things had to go right, and I was really fortunate to find long snapping at that time.
So you had the opportunity to get to play for the great coach, Nick Saban. What was that like for you?
Man, you learn a lot about discipline. You learn how you do one thing is how you do everything. But the main thing is how he carries himself. That guy never yawned in the facility. I always noticed that. He was always juiced up, ready to go, ready to get on somebody. But when he's around and he demands, a level of execution, of discipline, and understanding of what it takes to be the best. And, he demands that from his players, demands it from the staff, demands it from everybody in the building. Just kind of run that well-oiled machine, and everybody's on the same page of, giving 100%, and that's what it takes to be a champion.
Watching him in his interviews and just how he kind of ran everything, we got to see a little bit in the public with him in the media, but he always talked about the fourth quarter program with you guys. He expects excellence out of you guys. And obviously, 7-time national champion, you know what you're going to get out of it. So I got to ask you, one of his big emphasis and one thing he always talked about in the media was how important special teams was, flipping the field on punts, on extra points, and on field goals. Tell us a little bit about what he expected from you guys in practice.
From us in practice, it was the same thing as in a game, kind of. As a specialist at any college level, you just have to be able to do your job, do it at a high level, and fly under the radar. Like, the biggest thing for specialists when we were at practice was you don't want Saban to say a word to you. Because if Saban says anything to you at practice as a specialist, you've done something wrong. You're supposed to be the guy that comes in for a period or two at practice, snaps it to the punter or kicker, y'all get off the field, get to punt work, and that's it. So if there's anything that's said to you, that's the main thing. So whenever you're at practice with Saban, you don't want a word to come out of his mouth coming towards you.
You got a big part in the game. You're kind of the unsung heroes, which is, you guys got to come in and do your job. And unfortunately, from fans, if you guys mess up, that's when you guys get a lot of heck. But, over the last couple of years, you've done a really good job. The snap, the hold, the punt, everything's been great. You had 2 big highlights at the University of Alabama. One being in the Rose Bowl last year against Michigan, you had a big tackle, and then the 2022 Iron Bowl, you actually recovered a fumble. Tell us a little bit of what those moments were like for you in your career.
Well, the fumble meant a lot to me because, it was an Iron Bowl in Bryant-Denny Stadium. Grew up going to Iron Bowls in Bryant-Denny, and you just have something like that. We really didn't even need the fumble in the game, but just to make a play like that in a game where my family was there, it meant a lot. So, also having guys, in the Rose Bowl tackle, we'd had a GA, Thomas Fletcher, who had worked with us all year on shuffling and bag drills for tackling. So Both of those years, being able to make plays like that was awesome for me. But man, I had so much help, whether that be, in the fumble, our punter kicked a 5-second hang time punt. And I really don't expect any returner to catch that. In the Rose Bowl, I had so much help with the drills and tackling and things like that. So, different plays that I've made in my career, whether it be good or stand out, like I've had a lot of help. So, those meant a lot, but a lot of appreciation to the people who helped me.
Yeah, I know the Iron Bowl means a lot to the people of the state of Alabama. I mean, you're either Alabama or you're Auburn, one or the other. So I
Exactly.
actually got to go to the one this year, and it was just the atmosphere was insane, and it was just really cool to be there. And that was actually your senior day. Was that kind of an emotional moment for you?
Yeah, dude. I mean, you don't really try to think about that going into a game. You just try to think of it as any other game. But, the Dixieland Delight hitting the fourth quarter, everybody started singing, the lights went out, and I saw, guys that I'd been with for 4 years just singing along with me. And it was like, I mean, it was a special moment. And, Dixieland Delight will always hold a special place in my heart, Bryant Denny. But, that senior day game against Auburn was definitely one for the books.
All right, so we're going to transition a little bit. So, January 10th, 2024, 17 seasons at Alabama, Coach Nick Saban retires. The unknown of you guys in the locker room, what was that like for you?
And he called a meeting, and it was right after we had the break against Michigan. We played in the Rose Bowl, had a little bit of time, and the first meeting we came back, it was that meeting, and it was just the same we'd always done for the past 3 years. Comes in, talks about the season, talks about what the fourth quarter program is going to look like. We're going to start practice, all that stuff. But he walks in, and it was kind of weird because everybody in the facility was in the meeting room. It was, chefs and receptionists and coaches and strength. And it was like, well, everybody's in here. And he gets on the stage and he starts talking. He's like, guys, like, I'm proud of what we accomplished this year. Y'all battled through a lot of adversity, but I feel like a lot of the struggles that we had this year was due to, my age and my health. And, I take a lot of blame for that. And my buddy next to me, who's Cade Webby, who was a snapper with me for 4 years, whispers to me and he goes, dude, is he about to retire? Not a second after he said that, he announced, I'm going to retire. And
Man.
every ounce of air in that room was just sucked out. You could hear a pin
Mhm.
drop, man. And it was kind of like nobody knew how to react because everybody knew the day eventually would come when he was going to retire. But it's like when big moments happen like that, like we all realize like this is a big moment and this is something that's really happening. And right after that, we walked out, went to go speak with our position coaches, and the question was like, obviously, like a million questions: who's going to be the new coach? Who's going to stay? Who's going to go to the portal? What coaches are going to get jobs? And right after he told us that, he walked back upstairs and called ESPN and let them know. But he did us the courtesy of letting us know as a team and as a group instead of us reading it somewhere. So we all had a lot of respect for him for that. But dude, it was definitely just like a momentum shift in the program, and it just like, what now? And Greg Byrne came up after and was just like, guys, I know this is a lot, but just give me 72 hours, and I'll get a guy here, and it'll be the best guy. So I brought in DeBoer. We loved him. We're super happy with him, and we were really comfortable after reading DeBoer's resume, meeting him as a person, and that kind of eased the tension. But for about 3 days, there was just a giant question mark and so much unknown that was honestly pretty scary to think about. But it all worked out.
Yeah, no, talk about, you go from Coach Saban and then Coach DeBoer comes in. What was the different styles of changes in coaching for you?
I'll tell you this: it's specialists in practice. DeBoer loved talking to the specialists, so it felt a lot better. But he would come up to us and just ask about different things. Like he asked James which way he wanted to punt for the wind. Asked us different things about formations that we're in, packages that we're included in, and have to work with the offense on. So there was a lot more collaboration there. But he was awesome. He talked to us right after he got there and asked everybody kind of what they wanted their role to be for the season, and was very open minded. And I'm not saying Saban wasn't, but it was really cool to have a coach that was so involved with the specialist and cared about that side of the game more than others.
Is there something that he kind of came in and did for you that really kind of elevated your career or something that he changed that you benefited from?
Yeah, so it was the first meeting that I had with him, and I told him for the past 3 years, every punt style that we've ran has been spread punt, and what that means is, in college, when you snap the ball, anybody can release downfield, whether the punter kicks it, holds it, whatever. Like as soon as the ball snapped, anybody can release downfield. In the NFL, the only people that can release downfield after the ball is snapped is the two gunners. So I told him for me to have a good opportunity at going to the NFL, I would like to have a couple packages this year where I'm blocking. To at least put on tape to show NFL teams that I have the ability to do that to give me a better shot. After I told him that, he hired a new special teams coordinator, and he came in with a blocking scheme and helped me a lot this year. So the one big thing that really stood out was, you go to him with a question or concern, and it's something like, "Hey, man, I probably need this to happen to help me have the best chance of being successful, and to help me get to the next level." And he was all ears and extremely helpful.
Actually, I was reading a little bit more about you and talk about in fall camp, you actually got a scholarship, which you came in as a preferred walk-on. Actually, a lot of the guys thought you were already on scholarship. That had to be a pretty emotional moment for you and your family and everybody around you and the team also. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I got called upstairs one day, and there was a sheet of paper on a desk, and our Bob Welton just said, "All right, man, you're on scholarship. Sign the paper." And it was out of nowhere, and I was like, "All right, man, that's all. Appreciate it. Let's do it." And he Coach DeBoer did these things called senior tie talks, where the seniors will get up in front of the team and answer a couple questions like who you like to thank, things you want to tell underclassmen and freshmen. And I got to get in front of the team and just let them know that I was put on scholarship. And a lot of them were clapping, a lot of them were happy, a lot of them was like, "What? Like I didn't know that you were a walk on." But it was a good experience to have that happen, earn that scholarship. But yeah, man, it really meant a lot. So always am thankful for him that always thankful to him for that.
Just watching coach over just this year, I mean, the transition of football, he's still trying to keep the same kind of culture and just watching him grow with the team and seems like, he still cares not only about the program, the university, but also still about the team. And it's just kind of, he talks like it's we are going to move forward together. And that's really cool to kind of see.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, you worked with James Burnip, Graham Nicholson, and current Minnesota Vikings Will Reichert. What was it like working with those legends at the University of Alabama?
Well, man, I got lucky in my time at Alabama because, I wanted to go there and be the best that I could be, work to be the best I could be. And all 4 years I was there, I was surrounded by guys who wanted to chase greatness, and it made it a lot easier to, stay on that road to get there. James, I think he's the best punter in the country. Graham won the Luke Rose, and obviously Will's in the NFL. So when you're surrounded by guys like that, they help you be great, but also like when I'm in a game and there's a big pressure snap, big punt, big kick, I got all the confidence in the world because I know the guys that I'm working with. I know the work they put in. I know the work that they've done with me. And I know the trust they have in me. So, when you're surrounded by guys like that, it's very easy, to be able to have confidence and chase greatness.
Kind of looking back as an Alabama fan, you remember the early days of like the kick six happened and, the missed kick in the 2017 national championship to win. And then like you guys come in and it just kind of, like I said, you guys are unsung heroes. So, give your guys yourself a pat on the back. Like you guys just did so great over, especially your 4 years and, Will Reichert and Graham this year and James, you guys have just done unbelievable jobs. So I really, as a fan, like I appreciate what you guys have done and excited to kind of see what the future holds for you. I got to ask, you just completed your last year at the University of Alabama. What was your favorite moment, whether it was at the university or as a player?
Definitely got to be the 2023 SEC championship. Not knowing that was, the last ring game with Saban, but, just going over to Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Bryant-Denny East, as some like to call it, that was just a special experience to go into a game where it was really like the entire nation turned on us and was like, Alabama's not winning this game. This is Georgia. They lost to, Texas early in the season, barely beat USF. Like, this just isn't the same Bama team that has been seen over the years. And to be able to go into that game, will break the all-time scoring record in college football, win the SEC championship, and to beat Georgia. Man, it was a really special experience, and just all of the trials and tribulations over the season up to that point really made it worth it, man. And that was a very, very special moment that I'm going to remember.
I mean, you guys just got off that emotional win of the 4th and 31 too. So getting to watch not only that, and then you guys going and winning the SEC. I mean, I know you guys didn't end up winning the championship, but it was still cool just to watch from where the season began to where it got to at that point. So you just had your pro day. For our listeners, tell us a little bit about what that process looks like for you and your teammates.
Oh, man, it comes quick. The process kind of starts at the first day you got to Alabama. You're on radars and you got to make sure to do things the right way because there will be eyes on you. But with pro day as specialists, we have coordinators come in, work us out, punt, kick, snap, and then all the physical stuff. Benching, running, verticals, stuff like that. But it's definitely a process where you got to pick and choose your battles. I mean, it's definitely something that, like I said, comes at you quick and can be very overwhelming, but you just got to trust the process, take it one day at a time and have fun with it. Cause you don't know what the draft's going to look like. You don't know what free agency is going to look like. Don't know what teams are going to be calling. So, like I said, man, just one day at a time, fingers crossed, and we'll see.
You just completed that. What are kind of the next steps with you for that process? I know the draft's coming up. Walk us through that.
So, I've been very fortunate. Like I said, James, I think is the best punter in the country, and he's had a lot of private workouts with teams that I've been able to snap to him with. So, he'll have private lessons, and I'll snap with him. And just like I said, day by day, working out, snapping, and from the point of pro day until the draft, NFL teams are able to contact specialists, go for workouts. Like I said with James, and that's helped a lot. But kind of just preparing, getting ready for the draft day, hoping for a phone call, seeing what happens, and then after that, reporting to training camp, and then knocking on wood to have a good opportunity to win a job. But it doesn't move that slow. Comes up pretty quick. So just like I said, count down the days, but still getting ready for it.
So before I gotta let you go here, Beyond the Playbook started a segment where the last guest comes up with a question for our next guest. And so Tom's question for you is, if you could have dinner with 3 people dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Oh man, 3 people dead or alive. Well, one, I have to go Jesus Christ. I'd love to have a dinner with Jesus. A lot of questions, a lot of thank yous to give. 2, man. I really like music. It's been a big passion of mine for a while. And, my favorite guitar player of all time is Stevie Ray Vaughan. Man, I'd love to just get his input on, guitar and music and kind of the way he lived his life and how he went about things. That'd be really cool to see. And last would probably be, oh, man, you threw a hard one at me, man. I got Jesus, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and let me think about it. Probably have to go with Patrick Manley, the godfather of long snapping, one of the best to ever do it in the NFL. Fortunately that his daughter and nephew go here, so I got to meet him before and hang out with him for a little bit. But man, I'd love to sit down at dinner and pick his brain and get a lot of that. But yeah, man, that's my 3.
I feel like that's a pretty solid 3, especially you got a pretty diverse there. We got a guitar player, a former long snapper. We got Jesus, so that's really cool.
Yeah, that'd be a great conversation table. Just three chairs sitting at the table: Steve Ray Vaughan, Jesus, and Patrick Manley. I'd love it. That'd be great.
No, that's really cool, man. Well, we'll sum it all up, man. Kneeland, I'm excited to see where your career goes. I'm excited to see what goes on in the draft, who picks you up. Really want to thank you for all the good years you put in at the University of Alabama. I know it means a lot to you living there, growing up there, and then you playing there. So excited to see where you get to go from there. And, good luck for in the future, man. I really appreciate you coming on today.
Man, those words truly mean a lot, man. I appreciate it. Thank you again for having me on, dude. It was a blast.
We gon' always win. Promise that that's not a promise. Yeah, that is a dream.